It was over a year ago when I took a look at the Paul Reed Smith HDRX20, a reasonably priced 20-watt tube head designed to emulate the Woodstock-era Marshalls played by Jimi Hendrix. Now, it produced some nice tones, and in general, I liked it. But being more of a blackface Fender kind of guy, it wasn't quite in my wheelhouse for live gigs. Plus, I really prefer built-in reverb and tremolo. Well, this year, it's as if the company was reading my mind, because PRS amp designer Doug Sewell, working with David Grissom, created a smaller, lighter, less expensive version of Grissom's signature PRS amp head that seems to tick all the right boxes. Now today I'm taking a look at the new PRS DGT 15. Well, first, a quick rundown of some specs and features. Now, this is a tube rectified head with EL84s in the power section. The preamp uses three 12AX7s and a 12AT7. Now, the reverb is tube-driven, and the tremolo is old-school power tube bias oscillation. Very cool in an age when so often the reverb and tremolo is of the inexpensive digital variety. Now, this amp is really feature-rich, but not in any way that stops you from just plugging it in and using it like a traditional single-channel amp. Now, the front panel has the usual controls for volume and a 3-band tone stack. Then it adds a master volume. Next is the reverb level control. Then the very useful top cut and presence controls. And finally, speed and depth for the tremolo. Now, the presence adds shimmer, and the top cut is useful for preventing piercing highs, especially when using overdrive pedals. So what about these three-way mini toggles? Well, I think of most of them as set it and forget it. Now, the first one controls a boost and allows you to turn it on, off, or make it foot switchable, which is the way most of us will use it in a live setting. The second is a bright switch, which can be set to on, off, or off unless you engage the boost. Now, the third switch is very interesting. It turns the master volume on or off, making it a non-master amp, or on only when the boost is engaged, which can allow you to add a little gain without drastically increasing the volume. Now, the final switch turns the tremolo on, off, or sets it to be controlled by the foot switch. Like the boost switch, most of us will set this to foot switchable mode for live work. All right, let's check it out. Now, keep in mind, I didn't spring for the $500 matching cab with the Vintage 30, but this little workhorse cab of mine is loaded with a Celestion V-Type, and it does a pretty nice job. Well, cool. I may try it later with the Celestia Neo Creamback, which would knock the cab weight down to about 22 pounds. If I do that, I'll play the rig on stage and report back. For now, let's hear it with a couple of different guitars and pedals. Well, I have to say I'm liking this. It's nicely designed with well thought out features. It really does fit what I do nicely. Now the notes pop with a lot of focus and a healthy amount of rich harmonic content. Now understand, like the old school amp it aspires to be, getting a lot of grind is going to require stage volume or pedals. It's not one of those amps where you can crank the preamp volume, turn the master way down, and get a ton of saturation at low volume. The relatively low gain preamp allows all your effects to sound great running into the front of the amp, so no effects loop is really needed. Now David Grissom runs it with the master full up, which makes perfect sense, because in that scenario, most of the grind is coming from the power tubes, which always sounds best to me. You crank the master, you turn up the volume, you hit the boost, and there's a fair amount of drive available. Though at that point, it is pretty loud. I'd say it's perfect for club gigs, and even stages that are bigger nowadays where everything gets mic'd up. Now, it's not cheap, but it's compact, only weighs about 21 pounds, and sounds big and sweet. Well, I really hope you enjoyed today's look at the PRS DGT 15 head. Now, if you made it this far, give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. And I will see you again very soon.